QL Crew, we celebrate exploring and being curious. I've mentioned that my own quality longevity journey hasn't involved counting calories. Instead, I paid attention to when I eat, how much I eat, and the combinations of food I eat, including the order that I eat them in. Others in QL Crew are combining these observations with calorie counting, and some are going all in on tracking calories and macronutrients. What I share here is simply what's worked for me. I've learned a lot along the way. I have worked with my care team, which is my general practitioner and a nutritionist. And then I've also consulted publicly available sources like the CDC, National Institutes of Health, and World Health Organization. I've used my own data and circumstances to guide my choices. What works for me works for me. It may not work for you, so you have to be curious. It may also not be appropriate or safe for you. In the earliest weeks of QL Crew's inaugural year, I was learning about intermittent fasting from a published OBGYN in Texas. They had done extensive empirical research. I also had discussed intermittent fasting with my own care team over the years, so I knew it was safe for me to try. I also knew that I got headaches if I skipped breakfast, so I approached it very gradually. Intermittent fasting is a term used to describe eating patterns that alternate periods of eating and not eating. You may remember from Unit 4 that the word breakfast comes from 15th century England and refers to breaking the fast between the evening meal and the first meal of the day. What I began experimenting with was lengthening that fast. In January 2025, when the original crew was just a few weeks in, I started by extending my breakfast time by 15 minutes. Instead of eating at 7:30, I waited until 7:45. That felt easy, as did the next couple of 15-minute shifts. I didn't notice a difference between 7:30, 7:45, 8, or even 8:15. But when I pushed to 8:30, I noticed the hunger and a bit of a headache, and it also became harder to manage with my work schedule, so I stayed there for a while. Over time, I actually stopped watching the clock as closely, and some mornings I didn't notice hunger until later. When that became consistent, I nudged to 9 o'clock. That timing works for me because I have control over my schedule. For others in QL Crew, it doesn't. The point isn't the schedule, it's the curiosity and the willingness to work within your own circumstances. Now, I've gradually shifted my eating to where my first meal is now around 10:30, with my last food at night at the night before around 7:30, and that gives me about a 15-hour break. Because that break between meals is longer now, I've noticed something else. If I break the fast with food that isn't very nutrient dense, I feel awful. A couple weekends ago, I had a bagel with cream cheese, something that I used to have as a normal breakfast all the time, and I crashed with a strong headache. Over time, I've shifted towards more nutrient dense options that feel enjoyable. Things like mini non dippers with goat cheese and everything bagel sprinkle, and then more protein on the side of that. I'll share more of these as we move throughout the year. You can also check out the Instagram page. It's also titled Alesha Energy, where I share some of these, or you can DM me. We also talk about some of our experiences and some of our experiments in our QL Crew lives. More recently, I've also been experimenting with food combinations and even the order that I eat them in. From my own data, I've noticed that adding something like fresh cabbage slaw to soup or chili seems to slow the digestion and soften how the carbohydrates hit me. I'll say it again, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. I'm curious. I encourage that same curiosity always in communication with your medical professionals so that you can make choices that are safe for your body in your circumstances with your own biology. Let's keep chatting about this in messages, on socials, and in our lives.